Welcome to the State Farm Game Break Show.
Well, as we get you ready for the late games here on Fox with playoff impact, Mitch Trubisky tries to get the Bears in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers tries to clinch the #1 seed for the Green Bay Packers. If they don't do it, New Orleans or Seattle could wind up with the top seed in the NFC. That's much more to come here as we bring you to the State Farm Game Break Show. Kurt Menefee and the gang with you from the studio in Los Angeles. And you know what? Right now, those games are later. The early games are wrapped up. We will tell you about the playoff solidifying wins by a couple of teams. But Michael Strahan's still dancing right now about his Giants still keeping hope alive.
Hey, you know what?
His Giants? Did you say his Giants?
Well, you don't
Last
need...
week, they weren't his Giants?
By
They've
13.
been my Giants. I motivated them by picking against them. Because when I picked them last week, they were getting ready to play. They didn't see my pick. So after they lost last week, they saw and said, he picked against us. Let's prove him wrong this week. And they did it. Congratulations to the Giants. Hopefully, playoffs are in your future.
I wish they could see you back when you're watching the game. You're an emotional wreck.
No, I'm not emotional, wreck. I'm just very outwardly emotional.
No, they're holding on to hope right now.
How's that different from emotional wreck?
If Washington wins tonight against Philadelphia, Washington wins the East. Should Philly win that game, the Giants are the East champion. Real quickly, do we have time here to take a look at the playoff headlines for you? You can see the Giants remain alive. Cleveland, Tennessee, and Baltimore all playoff berths because the Dolphins lost today. Miami will only get into the postseason if the Colts lose to Jacksonville. That game comes your way later on, but coming up next, right here on Fox, many of you will catch the Chicago Bears. Oh, they're taking the field for hopefully not the last time for their sake as Mitchell Trubisky and company try to knock off the Packers.
This
And here we are, week 17 with everything on the line. Aaron Rodgers and the 12-3 Packers here taking on Mitchell Trubisky and the 8-7 Bears. Welcome to the broadcast booth. Three-time Super Bowl champion Daryl Johnson's my partner, and I'm Kevin Burkhardt. So this game's so much on the line, Daryl. If the Bears win, they're in the playoffs. Packers are in, but if they win, they've got the #1 seed.
Yeah, and I love the way that Matt LaFleur is going about this. He's going to attack this game. He knows how important that #1 seed is. They're the only ones to get a bye. It's going to be critical from a mental and physical standpoint to get that rest. Now, I know home field advantage hasn't been that big this season, but when you talk about Lambeau Field in the element, absolutely. But the biggest thing, no team from the wild card round has reached the Super Bowl the last 7 years.
Meanwhile, for the Chicago Bears, look, they're trying to become the third team ever with a 6-game losing streak to make the playoffs. They're playing better. They've won 3 in a row. So, of course, they've got to go through their nemesis to get there, right?
Well, I think it's the great litmus test, right? The last 3 weeks, this offense has been on a tear, but there's some people that think it's not just their development, but it's also who they've played. What better way to find out than having to go against the Green Bay Packers? And a lot more at stake today than just the playoffs for the Bears. If they don't win this game, are there changes? What happens to Mitchell Trubisky, staff, front office? A lot at stake today.
Packers won the first meeting about a month and a half ago in a rout. For more on that, down to Pam Oliver.
Hey there, Kevin. In that last meeting, the Packers absolutely massacred the Bears defense to the tune of 182 yards on the ground, but they didn't have their premier run stopper and defensive tackle Hakeem Hicks, who has since returned to the interior, and he promises that won't happen again. We were bullied and we were stomped on in a way Hicks said they haven't seen since he got to Chicago, which was 5 years ago. Stopping the run critical for every team every week, Kevin, but today Hicks said it is personal that we stop them.
And we'll see how he has an effect in that. Meanwhile, for the Packers, big injury news this week. You talk about that run game or the pass game. David Bakhtiari, who's maybe the best left tackle in the league, is out for the year. He had a knee injury, was placed on IR. So that is big news going for the Packers. Meanwhile, here's what we told you. Here's what's at stake. A first-round bye, #1 seed for the Packers with a win or a Seattle loss. The Bears, if they win, it's simple. They're in. They can still make it if Arizona loses to the Rams this afternoon. We'll obviously keep you updated on all that's going on in these playoff races. So much on the line in this Week 17. The Packers have won the toss. They have deferred. And here we go. From Soldier Field in Chicago, Cordero Patterson slips and falls down